Hey crafty family, it's me, and today we are going to make some rust. Yes, we're going to make some rust because rust is fun, and well, I love to rust things and I like to make things look like rust, but it's hard to do without expensive things because you don't get the really accurate result that you would get if you didn't buy something to make it do that. So I have this set here that I've had for quite a while and I love it. Sorry, this got a little white paint on it, but as you see, it gives a very rust effect, and it also, not only that, but it gives like the texture of rust as well, and it looks really cool. This one's not a great example, but we're going to use this and I'm going to show you how it works, and then we are going to do our own version that you could do at home that we're going to try to make look just like this. So this set is the the rust paste effect. It's Finnabair, I think, which is ultimately Prima. Yeah, Prima Finnabair rust paste effect, or rust effect paste. And it comes with 3 different little containers of color. It comes with a brown color, which is like a thick brown. It has like a grit to it. It's not perfectly smooth. It's kind of gritty. And then it has a red, or not red, like rust color, even more grittier, kind of pasty looking. And then it comes with this, which is the yellow, which is also gritty, but not, it's a little bit smoother than the other two. So the most grittiest one is the red one, the rusty color. But you use all 3 of these together to give yourself the rust effect. And I believe you're supposed to use, I don't know, I think you're supposed to use the darkest color first, and then use these 2 to kind of give the mottled kind of rust effect look. So I've got a piece of paper that I'm going to punch out a few circles, and we are going to make one on each of the DIY and this rust effect. So I usually start with this color here and just use old brushes because they have a lot of grit to them. Don't use your best brushes on this. So just use, you know, whatever, and just kind of get this on there. Actually, that's not a good brush. I need this harder brush. You can use a palette knife too. Just pick some up and put it on. Now this is how you get like, this is like, get you that texture. And you cover the whole surface in this brown, or whatever area you want rusted. Like if you only want a section rusted, then just do a section. But you got to work it in because it is gritty. And your brush gets a little messed up. That's why I said don't use great brushes. Okay, so then I'm going to clean out that brush because I'm going to use it again. Okay, that's good enough. Now I'm going to dry this with the heat gun real quick, which is on the floor. Okay, we'll dry this with the heat gun. Okay, that's dry. It dries pretty fast, luckily. And then what I do is usually I'll go with the yellow first, which that needs a little bit of a stir. So we're going to stir that up. Oh, that's got a little bit of a dry piece here. We're going to throw that in the garbage. Okay. It needs a little stir because it's separated a little bit because, yeah. Because like I said, this is the smoother of the 3. And it's been sitting a while. I keep these in plastic bags so they don't dry out, which is why this is nice and juicy still. I keep this whole package in a Ziploc bag. I do that with any of these type of paints because any of the ones with the lids like this, like Inca Golds or your, you know, metallic lusters or anything like that, because I feel like, and there's probably enough on here for me to work with. And then I just basically do this, and I don't do it all in the whole thing. That's why I'm taking it off the brush. I do like, you know, I do it and leave it a little spotty like that, you know, just leave it spotty. And you might come back to this, so I'm actually going to try to get that into the jar. Stuff isn't cheap, so it's like $12 for the set of 3, which to me isn't cheap. I got it like, oh god, a year and a half, 2 years ago when it first came out. I splurged and bought it for myself. That was before I didn't have a job. Okay, so now we did that layer. Now we're going to dry it again. And really, honestly, you don't have to dry in between the yellow and the red and the yellow and the rust color. You really don't. You can kind of work with it wet, actually, because I do remember I would do that, and it came out perfectly fine. It kind of blended probably better. So then you take your rust color, and this is where you kind of go over it, and you get that rust effect. Now, you can use the rust alone, but I think it honestly looks cooler because I've tried it alone, and I think it honestly looks cooler when you do the full 3 colors. It kind of really looks like rust, and it gives it that layered rusty look where it kind of has that yellow undertone. Like, to me, that looks so much more like rust than just when I think I just used the rust color on this one. You know what I mean? Like, it really starts to look like rust, and especially after it's dry and it's not shiny anymore. So, let me dry this real quick. Yeah, see, that totally looks like rust to me. Can you see that? How cool that looks? It really, really mimics rust, like, really well. And I know because when I was little, I used to play with rusty things. I was a horrible child. I was always, like, climbing around on rusty things and rusty cars, and because there was this, when I was a kid, there was these woods that I used to go into, and I built this elaborate fort, and there was a stream, and you go way back in the woods, and there was a stream, and we would walk, me and my friend walked down the path of the stream to see where it would go, and we came upon this graveyard of 1940s and 50s cars. And we never told anybody about it because we didn't want anybody to know, because it was so cool. We would go sit in the cars and climb all over them, and they were mostly rusted, but some parts weren't rusted. But like, you could go sit in the insides and steer the car. They were kind of all piled on top of each other in the stream in this way that they weren't moving. They weren't going to go anywhere. They were just kind of like this sculpture. It was really cool. Well, come to find out, what happened was the guy that owned like the bus yard or something, that there was like a bus yard by me, and like this guy owned it. And years ago, he had like a car dealership or something where he sold the cars. Well, years ago, back in like the 50s and 60s, he took those cars and put them there to avoid something with the taxes, like to avoid taxes or avoid paying something. So he took all these cars. I guess he was selling used cars. I don't know if they were brand new. I think they were used. And he took them and he dumped them back there in the woods, and nobody ever found them. And I think we were the only ones that found them, because years later, yeah, it was like this whole thing. So, yeah. So years later, we were the ones that discovered them, and we were actually, you know, like the whole town knew that we discovered them, and it was like this big deal. But we didn't say anything for a really long time because we liked to play on them. And then, you know, I think it was either me or my friend or one of us like said something to an adult about it, and that was like the end of that, you know, like, but anyway. We were kind of done at that point. We were older. We weren't playing on it anymore. But yeah, for years we would go back there and hang out back there. That was like the first time I ever smoked a cigarette, was back there by those cars. Like, crazy. Anyway, so yeah, rust is something I'm familiar with. I mean, I'd come home, my hands would be covered in rust from touching and climbing all over the cars and stuff. And this is what it would feel like. This is like the similar feeling. It had that kind of rough surface. So yeah, this definitely, to me, is one of the best ways to make rust. I have another method, which if I can find it quick, I'll show you. Here it is. And this method actually makes real rust, okay? This is rusting powder, and basically what this is iron, like iron powder. And what you do is you mix it with paint. I'm not going to do it today, but I'll do it another day. You take the powder and you mix it with whatever paint you want. And I like to mix it with like a patina colored paint. and you mix it together, and then you put it on whatever you want to rust. And then after it's, you know, on there and starts to dry, you spray it with water, and you keep spraying. Every time it starts to dry, you spray it with water again, and it'll literally rust, like real rust. And it's so cool. I mean, it's not gonna hurt you or anything, but it's really cool. It's a great product to use. It's called rust powder. I got this a long time ago, and I absolutely love it. I think I actually bought this overseas. I think I bought this from the UK, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It's from paperartsy.co.uk. That's where I got it from. I forgot. So yeah, so there's that. But that gives it a little bit of a different effect. It's not quite as textured as this, but it still is a little textured, and it still is really cool. It actually does some really cool things. So we'll play with that another time. Because a lot of people don't have the means to get that stuff, I guess, because it's in the UK. So I figured this would be the easiest way to show you. So, okay, so that's that set right there. We made rust. Now, let's make our own. And here's what we're going to use. We're going to use some paints. So I picked out some paints, a few different browns to like play around with, and then a regular, like a yellow, which isn't perfect that goes with this, but I can kind of make it with adding a little brown to that. I could probably get that to this color. And then we've got this color here, which I can also add a little brown, like a little burnt sienna to it, and it's going to make it pretty much that color. And then there's the brown, which right here is very similar to this. It looks a little bit redder here, so if I add a little bit of this to it, it might help out, but it doesn't have to be perfectly the same color. It really doesn't. So just play around with your paints and find some rust colors. You don't, you know, I'll tell you all the colors I end up using, but you can just basically eyeball it. You could pretty much, you probably already have the craft paints that you can make this with, because if you just take like a red and an orange, you'll get this color. You know what I mean? Like you can make, you know, brown and red will make the sienna. You can kind of mix around and play and figure everything out yourself. So I'm going to try to make a little bit of each color in these little glass dishes. I'm just going to keep mixing around. And then the secret ingredient that we're going to use to give texture to these things is cinnamon and ginger. Ground ginger and ground cinnamon. We're going to attempt to use these to give the texture and see what happens. Okay, the cinnamon is not my idea. This was an idea that, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was now. I'm sure if I went through my videos or went through my Happy Mail, I would remember. Somebody sent me Happy Mail that had something, or no, she told me about it in a message. That's right. She told me about it in a message on my Facebook page, my Pink Poodle Craft page, and now I can't remember who it was. Crap. I can't remember who it was because it was a while ago, but she had told me about using ground cinnamon to make a rust effect, a rust paste. So, but the ground ginger is kind of my idea, because I saw this when I was going to get the ground cinnamon. I thought, oh, well, I could use this to give the texture to this. So that's where I got that from. So we're going to give this a try and see what we can do. I've not done this yet, so this is like we're trying it together. And actually I might want to use a little spoon like this. It might be easier to mix. Actually I'll get a spoon for each color. There we go. Spoon for each color. Alright, let's start with the brown. Okay, so that's the one we're going to start with first. I don't have a browns, so I'm going to use a little cinnamon to add to this, but I think the brown, it won't get too red, but we're going to add the cinnamon to that for the texture as well. So we're going to start with just the regular, what color is this? Burnt umber. Yeah, we're going to start with the burnt umber. And we're going to add some brown, and then we're just going to add some cinnamon and see what kind of color we get. That looks already very similar to that. I don't see a lot of difference between the two. So I'm just going to add a little bit of cinnamon to this to give it some, and if it gets too red, then I'll just bring some more brown in to brown it up, because cinnamon's kind of got a red color to it. But we do want the brown to have some texture, because it did have texture, so we want it to have, ooh, it smells good. Yeah, it's looking good already. Yeah, we didn't even have to add any other color to it. This is a little bit darker. So if I have a dark brown, or I can just add a little black. We can try that. We could try to match it as best we can. You don't have to. I bet if I left it like that, it would be fine. But we're going to add a tad of black to this, just to really darken it. And I'm sure I probably added too much, but that's okay. Yeah, I did. No, that's actually okay. Yeah, look at that. It's like perfect. So a little burnt sienna and a little black with some cinnamon. I actually need more cinnamon, believe it or not. I'm actually going to use the sprinkle part because I want it as pasty as this one here. And then as soon as I make it, I'm going to put it onto the paper so that then we can move on to the next one so it doesn't dry out. That looks really good to me. I don't know about you, but that looks really good. And actually what we'll do is, where's that brush? What we'll do is a swatch test as well. So I'll take this. So this is a great way to not spend a lot of money. All right, so first we're going to do a swatch test. So on here, I'm going to take a pencil and let's see. We're going to write DIY and Prima. And that'll be the Prima brown and the DIY brown. So here's the DIY brown. Get some of that paste up in here. Okay, that's the DIY. Rinse my brush. Let me get some of the Prima. Holy crap, I can't tell the difference. Wow, that's scary. That came out really good. In fact, that's a little darker. That's okay. So they look almost exactly the same, except this is slightly lighter, so maybe a little less black, but that's otherwise it's perfect. It's so perfect. So okay, we figured that out really fast, which is good. Sorry for all the clinking. I have glass on glass over here. So we're gonna let those dry there, and now we're gonna put our DIY onto this, and we're gonna test it out. Nope, wrong brush. Give me the one that's messed up. Or not messed up, but weird. Okay, so let's get some of this paste. I probably made this a little too pasty, but that's okay, because I can just add water to it, but just shove it on there. It might be better with a palette knife. Let's try that. Let's see. Is it easier to spread with a palette? Yeah. So I'm doing the whole thing, and I probably need a little water put in there. I probably made it a little pasty, too pasty. I made it a little too chunky. Sorry, all the clanking I know is annoying. I can't help it. Yeah, I made it way too pasty. I should have left it and not added as much cinnamon, but that's okay because a little water can make everything better. And I'll even spread this out with this. A little trial and error. It's actually easier to spread it with the palette knife. I'm trying to go fast just because I want to get through all of them and I don't want this video to be 9,000 years long. Okay, there we go. Alright, it's on there thickly because I have a very thick amount. And what I'm going to do is throw this in the garbage so that it doesn't sit and dry in my glass jar. Because if I had, obviously if I had a closing jar, I would make some and then close it up and keep, you know, you can keep it. So I would just use, the only thing is because we're using like cinnamon and paint, I would add, I would take a water bottle if you're going to adding a little bit of water to it. And make sure you have a couple, you know, like some either a little bit of glycerin or a little bit of alcohol. So that it doesn't like mold. You know what I mean? That's what I put in my water. My water always has it so it doesn't mold. It's sitting in here. I put, you know, like a little bit. I have that jug underneath my desk I've talked about, and it's got water in it. And I put some alcohol and glycerin in it. Okay, actually we're going to dry this. Tell you one thing, rust never smelled so good. Okay, so that's pretty much dry, and it feels just like, that is so weird. It is so like perfect. Okay, now we're gonna go for the yellow. Let's try to make the yellow. So I'm gonna turn this upside down so I can see. Now we've got some, so let me open it and see, I'll get a better, I got a tiny drop in there, that's okay. I didn't realize that was gonna happen. That was fun. Well, you know how I am. A slob. Alright, anyway. Let's use the cap as a reference. So, this is slightly, like, browner than that. So I'm going to add a drop of just brown. Like a really, hopefully a small drop. Like that much. Onto the back of the spoon. And mix it in. I don't know how much. Maybe that's not enough. Like literally a drop. Just to brown it up a little bit. It's hard to mix a small amount of paint in a larger thing. So it's maybe the orange. Maybe it needs a little of this. Maybe it needs a little bit of this. We could try it. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, it's very similar. I'm just trying to be really anal about it. You don't have to. But you seriously... Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. See, I'm not a good color mixer. I just play until I get what I want. So, okay, so this is... It's Craft Essentials terracotta. So I added a little terracotta. I think I need a little bit more. I'm being too stingy here. Let's add a little more yellow. And then we'll add a couple drops of this. Because I want enough to spread. I'm still going to add a little brown to darken it. Maybe too much. That's okay. So I added a little Anita's All-Purpose Craft Paint Rich Brown. And a little of the Craft Essentials Terracotta, along with the Cerm Coat. I know it's all different brands, but you don't have to use these exact colors. Just pick ones that are similar. Empire Gold. And that's looking really good. I bet you I can get it even closer. It's like, it's almost just got to look like mustard, like the spicy mustard. That's the color that you want. Like a spicy mustard color. That's it. You don't have to go as far as I am. I'm just being anal about it and like going, oh, I bet you I can get it really exact, but you don't have to. It's still going to give the exact same result if it's not 100% perfect. There we go. Now, if that's not exact, I don't know what is. Alright, that's good enough. Like, really. Okay, I'm going to close this up because I don't want this to dry. Now that I've got it all over the place and my hands, they look like I have jaundice. Okay. So, these are the three colors we used. Terracotta, just use any terracotta. Rich brown, use any, like, darkish brown. And Emperor Gold, so use any kind of marigold color would be a good mix. Marigoldish. A dark brown and a terracotta-y looking rusty color. That's what I used. Just mix them together. And then we're going to take some of this ground ginger, which I dropped. Let's see. We're going to take some of that and we're just going to dump some ground ginger in there and see what happens. What's nice is it smells really good. I feel like I'm making a pumpkin pie or a cinnamon bun or something. It's pretty amazing. And these are all cheap. I don't buy expensive, and I don't use this enough to like not use it for craft projects because I think I've used this like once in the past 5 years. So it's a good way to use up your old spices, because you can take your spices and mix them into some glue and make some texture pastes with them and make some really cool stuff. So, okay, this is, let's see if the texture is right, because this one's a little less textured. So, yeah, I think the texture is right on this, because it's a little loosey-goosey, but it's still got some texture. So, okay, so let's play around with that. Like literally my hands are yellow, but it comes off easy because it's just the different paints and powders and such. Okay, now we're gonna do what we did to this one, where we're not gonna use much of this, so it's mostly gonna go in the trash, because I don't really have a container I could save it in, unfortunately, otherwise I would. Okay, so now we're going to do what we did before and take some of the yellow, and that looks exactly like it did before, like we were doing before when we took the yellow on the other one, and just leave some of the brown showing through. There we go, and then I wasted all that, but that's okay. It's not really that much. It's like a tablespoon. I can't cry over a tablespoon of paint, honestly. Okay, so now we're going to hit that with the heat gun and see what happens. Oh yeah, I gotta do the comparison on the paper too. I forgot about that. Okay, here's the DIY yellow, and we don't need to write yellow because I'm sure you could tell it's the yellow. And the Prima, or I'm calling it Prima, but it's the whatever, you know what I mean. Our Alchemy or Finnabair, they name things so many things that I don't get it, but whatever. So I'll put the Prima down first this time out of the lid, like so. Clean off my brush. Brush is clean, and then we will take some of this. There's like almost no difference. Look at these two dried. You can't tell the difference. These two, it's such a slight variant. There's just a little bit more orange in that one, but it's so slight that I actually like this better. I actually like the one that I made better, to be honest with you. But yeah, so slight. Insane. Okay, so this is dry enough. Now we're going to make the final rust color, which is this color here. So I'm going to start with a lot of this. Which already looks just like that. And then we're just going to add the cinnamon in and see what color we get before we have to mix anything else. Because I have a feeling that maybe the cinnamon will make it the right color, and I won't have to do anything else. The terracotta in the cinnamon, but if I have to, I will add some brown, which I may have to do. The cinnamon doesn't look like it's staining it enough. But it's so close that if I just did this, it would actually be fine. Like, I don't see, so I'm going to add a little bit of brown before I add any more of that. And let's see, do I want to add a brown or do I want to add burnt sienna? Let's try burnt sienna. This is like a little bit of a redder brown, slightly. We're just going to see what happens when we add that. I guess I'm pretty good at mixing colors, considering it doesn't take me long to... I always say I'm bad at it. Yeah, that's perfect. Wow. Oh yeah, that's actually exact. Okay, so that was easy. So I mixed the terracotta with some burnt sienna, and that gave me the perfect rust color. Like, there's literally no difference. Okay, so I guess I am good at mixing paint colors. I kind of always have been, but I guess I just thought I wasn't good at it because I Some people, I guess, know the exact colors to mix together right away, and I have to sit there and eyeball everything and like go, well, maybe this, a little bit more of this. And some people, I guess, are really good at colors, and they can just do it and go, oh yeah, you put this color, like they'll look at this and go, oh yeah, that's this pigment, that's this pigment. Like, I don't know how to do that. But if you give me a few minutes, I can figure out anything. I can figure out any color, any hue, anything. It doesn't, I don't know why. Just because I guess when I was a kid I didn't have a lot of paints and I would mix colors all the time. And okay, that's good. Probably too much cinnamon, but to me that looks like exact, pretty much exact enough. I wonder if I added a little bit of this to it, if it would give it that. Let me see. I probably added too much, but that's okay. We can go back. I did. I added too much. See, now I ruined it. It's okay. You can always fix it. I just wanted to add a little bit of the yellow to it to brighten it, but I brightened it too much. But I'll make it better. And I want to thin it out anyway because it's really, I have a tendency to add a little too much cinnamon. The cinnamon is a little, you don't have to add as much as you think you do. All right. Stick to what I did first. Terracotta and a little bit of the burnt sienna, because yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, good enough. All right. To me, that looks pretty good. I might add a little bit of burnt sienna back in there. Where is it? Here it is. Because it's just a little tiny bit darker. Let me use my brush though. Because it's a little darker. Like, I'm trying to be exact, but honestly, you don't need to be. Plus mine is so thick. There we go. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's it perfectly. Can you see that? It looks like it came right out of that jar. Okay. Just do what I did in the beginning because it was perfect then and I screwed it up. Burnt sienna, terracotta, cinnamon. Okay, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add this just like I did before, covering most of it, leaving a little of the other colors showing through. But considering how much this costs, this stuff, 12 bucks for 3 little tiny things, it's worth it to make your own. Absolutely. Definitely. Oh yeah, I gotta do the test. I keep forgetting about that. Okay. Let me get my brush back. Okay, so then we've got a room here for Prima and DIY. Here is the wrong color, DIY. So if you want to make something look really rusty and cool, go to your spice cabinet. That's the thing now to do. Yeah, like this, this is probably the best match out of all of them. But like I said, don't do what I did. Don't go adding all the other stuff in and then going, oops. I mean, you can if you want to experiment. Experiment. Who cares? Yeah, but that's like the best match. Out of all of them, that's the best match to the Prima. That one. Yeah. Okay, so let's dry this and then compare the two. Heat gun. Okay. Wow. The only thing I could tell is, as you can see, this one has a little bit more of an orange color to it, and that's the rust color. This color here has a little more, the Prima has a little bit more of an orange color, but I actually think that this one looks and feels more like rust. Regardless, I would never know the difference using them. I would think that this was rust. I would think that this was rust. You can add a little bit of orange to this to get a little bit more of a orange pigment. You know, add the orange to the rust color to get that if you want to, but honestly, they look almost exactly the same. And I would never know the difference, but the nice thing is, this smells like pie. I mean, literally, you can give this to somebody and be like, oh, and it's scented, smell it. And it would make like their whole thing smell good. If you covered this with like some clear gesso or something that's matte, completely matte, so that it doesn't give, you know, a shiny coat, the smell will go away if you don't want the smell, but it's very subtle, but it's really nice. I mean, this smells too, but it smells like paint. So would you rather have the smell of paint or some cinnamon and ginger? I mean, you know, I think I'd rather have the cinnamon and ginger, honestly. So this is totally awesome. You can't really tell the difference. They both look exactly like rust. In fact, this one has more texture and looks more like rust to me than this one does. So yeah, make your own. Totally. Make your own. Use some cinnamon and some ground ginger and totally make your own rust paste effect paints. Because these are expensive and I'm not knocking them because I love them. So if you want to go ahead and buy them, absolutely. They're awesome. But if you are on a budget like I am now, where I haven't been able to buy anything cool like that, you know, and I can't right now. And if you can't, go to your spice cabinet and your crappy craft paints that are cheap and, you know, make yourself some of these rust pastes on your own. And they'll smell better and, yeah, more fun to use because you made them for free. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to make, and I'm excited that you can make your own rust paste, and I hope you guys try it and let me know how yours comes out. And yeah, so if you haven't joined already, I have a Facebook group called the Pink Poodle Crafts Pink Poodle Pack Creative Playground, and if you do make this, please do something and, you know, take a picture and put it in the group so that I can see. And yeah, share my video. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it on all your social media, and subscribe and hit the little bell icon next to the subscription button so that you get notifications of when I do new videos and when I go live, because I do live streams twice a week. So yeah, they're a lot of fun. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Make sure you do what you love what you do, be nice to people. Love you guys. Bye.